Listen up, because right now, as you're watching this explainer, there is money directly tied to your Social Security that you haven't claimed. And I want to be super clear right off the bat. This isn't some theoretical money that someone might owe you. This is money that has already been calculated, it's already been set aside by the system, or worse, it's actively being deducted from your check every single month. But here's the catch. It's going to stay exactly where it is, and you will never see a dime of it unless you know to explicitly ask for it.
So, you gotta ask yourself, are you one of the millions of retirees currently losing money to outdated forms and systemic defaults? You see, the Social Security Administration processes millions of payments, right? But they do not proactively audit your file to make sure you're getting the absolute maximum you're entitled to. They just execute the instructions they have on file. If those instructions are outdated, or if you simply don't know the right questions to ask, well, the SSA is just going to quietly keep that money.
And we aren't just talking about a few pennies here. Depending on your specific situation, these missed qualifications can add up to staggering amounts. We're talking sometimes an extra $1,250 a month, or even massive retroactive lump sums. Most folks who find out about what we're covering today all have the exact same reaction. They just wish someone had told them sooner. So today, I'm going to walk you through a highly structured 5-point actionable checklist. I want you to look at each one and ask yourself if it applies to you. Let's get into it.
All right, item 1, stop overpaying your taxes.
So, at some point, you might have filled out a form called the W-4V. That's a form to voluntarily withhold federal tax from your check. The thing is, the SSA will just keep executing this forever without ever checking if you actually owe that tax. And this perfectly highlights the problem. Because of recent tax changes going into 2025 and 2026, there's a new $6,000 senior deduction that stacks right on top of the existing standard deductions. What does that mean? Well, for a single filer 65 or older, your deductions reach $24,150 before you owe a single dollar of federal income tax. For a married couple, both 65 or older, it hits $47,500. There are literally millions of seniors who have zero actual tax liability on their Social Security now, but their W-4V still says 10%. They're just bleeding $200 to $400 a month for absolutely no reason.
Look, if you check your SSA 1099 or your payment stub and you see federal tax being withheld, you might just be giving the government a massive, interest-free loan that only comes back as a refund in April. But you can fix this today. Step 1. Download a fresh form W-4V from irs.gov. Step 2. Select the lower rate or just select 0 if your income falls below those new thresholds. And Step 3. Mail it directly to your local Social Security Administration office, not the IRS. It takes about 30 to 60 days to process, and boom, your ongoing checks will instantly go up.
Moving right along to item 2, the provisional income test.
To even know if you should be adjusting that W-4V to 0, you have to know if your Social Security is taxable in the first place, right? I actually love this part because it puts you completely in the driver's seat to audit your own finances. To find your so-called provisional income, take all your non-Social Security income, stuff like pensions, IRA withdrawals, interest, part-time jobs, add any tax-exempt interest you have, and then, finally, add exactly 50% of your total annual Social Security benefit. That grand total right there, that's your provisional income. Do yourself a favor, take 5 minutes after this explainer and run that exact math using last year's numbers.
Now, check out these thresholds for your filing status. If your provisional income is below $25,000 as a single filer or below $32,000 as a married couple filing jointly, absolutely 0% of your Social Security is federally taxable. None of it. Zip. If you fall below those numbers, your correct withholding rate is an absolute 0. Now, if you're single and between $25,000 and $34,000 or married between $32,000 and $44,000, up to 50% of your benefit might be taxable. But listen, if you're in that bottom 0 tax bracket and you're still having money withheld, you need to execute that W-4V fix immediately.
Okay, next up, item 3, missing spousal survivor benefits.
This one is specifically for widows and widowers. And honestly, it's one of the most consistently missed situations in the entire system. When a spouse passes away, the surviving spouse has the absolute right to receive either their own retirement benefit or their deceased spouse's benefit, whichever is higher. You can get up to 100% of what your late spouse was getting. But here's the trap. The SSA will not automatically switch you over to that higher benefit. Countless surviving spouses filed for their own benefit years ago, and they are just stuck on it indefinitely. They are completely unaware of the difference. A widow could be getting her own benefit of, say, $1,400 and be totally blind to the fact that she's actually entitled to her late husband's benefit of $2,200. Do the math on that. That difference is $800 a month. That is $9,600 every single year for the rest of her life, just left on the table because she didn't ask. If you've lost a spouse, you absolutely must call the SSA directly at 1-800-772-1213. Ask them to pull both numbers, your current benefit and what you'd get on your late spouse's record. If theirs is higher, request the switch on that exact phone call.
Moving to item 4, the public sector payout.
This one is for all our public servants out there. Teachers, police officers, firefighters, federal employees who paid into a separate government pension. For decades, you guys were likely hammered by rules known as the WEP and GPO, which drastically reduced or even completely wiped out your benefits. But the landscape just completely flipped. The Social Security Fairness Act, which was signed into law in January 2025, permanently repealed those penalties. And the best part? It made the change retroactive to January 2024. The SSA has been processing these corrections all through 2025 and into 2026, which means millions of public sector workers are legally owed massive back pay.
The numbers we're seeing here are a total game changer. The average retroactive lump sum payment is coming in around $6,710, along with an average monthly increase of $360. But listen closely, not everyone has gotten this correction yet. Spousal and survivor benefit adjustments are still lagging behind in mid-2026. You need to log into your account at ssa.gov and compare your current benefit to what you were getting before January 2025. If it hasn't jumped up, you've got to call the SSA and specifically demand your WEP and GPO adjustment.
And finally, item 5, reversing claim regrets.
Believe it or not, the system actually has 2 incredibly powerful, totally under-the-radar options to fix past claiming mistakes. Option 1 is Form SSA 521. If you started getting payments within the last 12 months, you actually have a one-time right to withdraw your application, repay everything you got, and just pretend it never happened. That lets you refile later at a much higher amount. Option 2 is for folks who are past their full retirement age, which is 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later and haven't filed yet. You can actually request up to 6 months of retroactive payments paid out to you as a lump sum.
To really grasp how crazy option 1 is, think about a woman who filed early at age 62 for $1,920 a month. If she uses Form SSA 521 within that strict 12-month window to withdraw and repay, she can wait until age 70 to refile. Her new benefit, $3,379. That is a permanent increase of almost $1,460 every single month for the rest of her life. It is literally the most powerful correction in the entire system.
And for option 2, if you're past full retirement age and you're finally filing, asking for that 6-month retroactive payout on an average benefit translates to an immediate $12,000 cash injection. It just gets delivered right alongside your very first check. Now, yeah, it does slightly reduce your ongoing monthly benefit because it moves your start date back 6 months, but the option is there. And I guarantee you the SSA will never offer it to you unless you explicitly bring it up when you call to file.
All right, so that brings us to your final action checklist.
We've covered a ton of ground today, but just knowing this stuff isn't enough. Execution is everything. The SSA is not going to knock on your door and hand you a check. You have to take control. Seriously, pause this explainer right now and take a screenshot of this list. Here's your mission. First, check your pay stub and submit a new W-4V if you're overpaying taxes. Second, run that provisional income math for last year. Third, if you're a surviving spouse, call the SSA and demand a benefit comparison. Fourth, public sector folks, verify your Fairness Act lump sum is hit. And fifth, if you claimed early in the last year and regret it, grab Form SSA 521 or ask for your lump sum if you're past full retirement age.
Most people watching this are going to find they qualify for at least 2 of these actions. So my final question to you is, which of these 5 funds are you leaving behind? The whole system is built to maintain the status quo. If you want the maximum benefit you are legally owed, you have to be the one to step up and claim it. Take an hour this week, run through the checklist, and secure your money. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.